Hello everyone, and welcome back to History Reruns. On the schedule for today is the War for Independence. Ireland had seen a major shift in a very short amount of time. The Home Rule crisis and revolution had shifted people's opinions on the relationship Ireland had with England. The harsh response England had on the leaders and civilians after the Rising pushed the view that maybe they died for something. Those arrested for taking part in the Rising were sent to Frongach internment camp, later known as Ollscoil na Réabhlóide, in Wales, where a man from Cork named Michael Collins rose to lead those in the prisons in makeshift training, focusing on a new tactic, guerrilla warfare. In the background to this, the Irish Volunteers, IRB, and other groups involved in the uprising were disorganised after losing most of its leadership. They eventually reorganised into the Irish Republican Army in 1919, under the leadership of Michael Collins, with a new focus on guerrilla warfare against British convoys and barracks. The British couldn't sit back and watch the IRA attack its positions in Ireland, and decided to send World War I veterans to Ireland, with the promise of land if the war was ended on their terms. The main groups were the Black and Tans and the Auxiliaries. The Black and Tans were infamous in Ireland, as they committed some of the greatest massacres against civilians Ireland had seen, burning whole towns and opening fire on civilians in retaliation to IRA attacks. They were famously described as half-drunk, whole-mad, and gun-happy. Flying columns were a special division of the IRA. Made mostly of known IRA members, they would never stay in one place too long. They specialised in scouting and guerrilla warfare. Local IRAs were tasked with the housing, feeding, and hiding of the men in the local flying column. This was an extremely successful move for the Irish, as these columns were able to raid trains and convoys for supplies and intercept mail going to Dublin Castle. By December 1916, those in the Frongach were released back into Ireland. The British media needed someone to blame for the destruction of the Rising, and eventually Sinn Féin were blamed for the organisation and execution of the uprising, even though they had nothing to do with it. The Irish Parliamentary Party was now all but wiped out, because of the Rising and the new nationalist view the Irish had. The relatively young party, Sinn Féin, founded by Arthur Griffith, capitalised on this opportunity by taking the blame for the Rising, making them extremely popular among nationalists. The 1918 general election was a massive moment for Irish nationalists. Out of 105 Irish seats in Westminster, Irish Parliamentary Party won 6, the Unionist parties won 26, and Sinn Féin won 73. Sinn Féin had a policy of abstenteeism, meaning they never took their seats in British Parliament, instead deciding to set up their own provisional government in Mansion House, Dublin, in 1919. All candidates that won a seat in Ireland were invited to attend the first Dáil. Of the 69 Sinn Féin members elected in December 1918, only 27 were present at the first public sitting of the Dáil. Many others were in prison, on the run, or on undercover missions. The first Dáil was also conducted almost exclusively as Gaeilge. The first ever woman voted into Parliament was Constance Markievicz, who, along with Eamon de Valera, abstained. Michael Collins was also not present during the first Dáil, as he was in England planning to break de Valera out of prison. The day after the first Dáil, a second, more secret one was held. Cathal Brugha would be president until de Valera replaced him in 1919. The finance minister would be Professor Owen MacNeill, replaced by Collins in the same year as de Valera. Home Affairs Minister would be Michael Collins. Foreign Affairs Minister would be Count Plunkett. And National Defence Minister would be Richard Mulcahy. On November 21st, 1920, a group of elite assassins known as the Squad systematically assassinated 14 members of the Cairo Gang, a group of British intelligence officers. On the same day, a reprisal attack was conducted by the Auxiliaries in Croke Park. Dublin and Tipperary were playing a game in support of the Republican Prisoners' Dependence Fund. After the game started, RIC, Auxiliaries, and the Black and Tans stormed the stadium and opened fire on the crowd. The stadium of 10,000 people started to run for the exits, but were blocked by the army on all sides. 14 people were killed and 80 to 100 were injured. Among those who were killed were Joe Traynor, 21, Tom Hogan, 19, John William Scott, 14, William Robinson, 11, and Jerome O'Leary, 10. Later the same day, 2 IRA officers were killed in Dublin Castle after an apparent escape attempt, both having evidence of torture and prolonged assault after the autopsy, but this is highly disputed. By 1920, 500 people had died. The first half of 1921 saw a further 1,000 deaths. On the 20th of July 1921, the British had sent De Valera proposals for a settlement, in which Ireland would become a self-governing dominion within the British Empire. Contact was maintained between the two sides, and in late September 1921, Lloyd George sent De Valera a fresh invitation to a conference in London on October 11th, where we can meet your delegates as spokesmen of the people whom you represent with a view to ascertaining how the association of Ireland with the community of nations known as the British Empire may best be reconciled with Irish national aspirations. Put a bit more simply, it was an invitation to settle the conflict between England and Ireland. The Irish negotiators were Arthur Griffith, Robert Barton, Michael Collins, Eamon Duggan, and George Gaffin Dovey. The British negotiators were David Lloyd George, Austen Chamberlain, Winston Churchill, Laming Worthington Evans, Hamer Greenwood, Gordon Hewart, F.E. Smith. Eamon de Valera controversially did not take part in the negotiations, staying in Ireland to take care of the new country, and give the negotiators an excuse to not sign anything immediately. The negotiators were told to report back to Ireland before signing any treaty. Northern Ireland was a big part of the negotiations. By May 1921, a government had been set up in Northern Ireland with James Craig at its head. It was decided that the North had the right to vote out of an All-Ireland Parliament, and a boundary commission would be set up to maintain the borders. A treaty was signed on the 6th of December without reporting back to De Valera because of extreme pressure put on the delegates, immediate signature or immediate war. It made Ireland a dominion of the UK, included an oath to be said by all TDs to the King when they are elected, 3 ports that would be held by the UK Navy, Berehaven, Spike Island and Lough Swilly. A Governor-General would be put in place to represent the King in Irish Parliament, and Northern Ireland could vote out of the new Irish Free State after a year. The Dáil debated the treaty bitterly for 10 days until it was approved by a vote of 64 to 57. Having lost the vote, De Valera announced his intent to withdraw his participation from the Dáil and called all his deputies who had voted against the treaty to follow him. A substantial number did so, officially splitting the government and IRA into pro and anti-treaty. Thank you everyone for watching this rerun, and sorry for the delay between the uploads. I'm a current college student, so I'll try and find more time to work on these. With that, my next video will be on the Irish Civil War, so stay tuned. Now go write an essay.